Do you guys remember the 12-inch MacBook? This was the thinnest and the lightest Mac that Apple has ever made, and it is also, in my opinion, the best looking Mac that they've ever made. Well, according to Mark Gurman, it is actually coming back in 2023 or even 2024. So the real question is, will this new 12-inch MacBook be an updated 12-inch or something else? Now, it could of course just be, this design with an updated M2 chip, but I do think that it will be something else. And here we have two options. One, it could just be a smaller MacBook Air, or two, it could be a smaller MacBook Pro. Obviously, a smaller MacBook Air makes the most amount of sense. It would have the same design as the M2 Air, just thinner, and with a smaller 12-point-something inch display. And this would be Apple's most portable Mac once again, which makes the most amount of sense for a device that is designed to be, taken with you anywhere. But in his report, Mark Gurman was also hinting at the possibility of this new 12-inch being a smaller MacBook Pro. His argument was that Apple actually sold a 12-inch Pro MacBook back in 2003 to 2006. It was the par. So if they've done it in the past, they could do it again. Although, in my opinion, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for Apple to release a 12-inch MacBook Pro. You see, the only reason why small laptops like this have done so well was because they're portable, they're easy to carry, they're very light, very thin, and the display is, small, but it's big enough for emails and web browsing and stuff like that. But once you start doing more, like imagine opening Final Cut on this and editing a project, then this display becomes just unusable. It's just way too small. So I don't think that Apple would release a MacBook Pro that would come in a 12-inch form factor. Not even to mention that it would automatically be thicker and heavier by being a Pro model, which automatically goes against the portability aspect of it. When Apple launched the original MacBook Air, they even made fun of netbooks because they were just very thick and very heavy. So I would put my money on the new 12-inch simply being a smaller version of the MacBook Air. Okay, so what's the whole MacBook lineup going to look like in that case? Well, we would actually have one MacBook at each display size. We would have this 12-inch, then the 13-inch M2 MacBook Air, then the 14-inch MacBook Pro, then the 15-inch MacBook Air, which has also been reported by Mark Gurman, and then the 16-inch MacBook Pro. So what about the price? Well, it makes sense for the 12-inch MacBook to be the cheapest MacBook in the lineup, very likely replacing the M1 MacBook Air, which starts at $999. Of course, it will have a smaller display than the M1 MacBook Air, but the fact that it will have a new design kinda justifies that $999 price point. But okay, does it even make sense for a new MacBook line to exist? I think to some extent, if you look at the iPads, we have iPad, iPad Air, and iPad Pro. Apple could apply the same logic to the MacBook lineup. I mean, an even better lineup would simply be dropping the Air name and just keeping MacBook and MacBook Pro, but this is quite unlikely as the new Air literally just came out. But alright, how likely is this 12-inch MacBook? Well, according to Russ Young, it's not. He's quite skeptical. So this is what he said. Apple's strategy for notebooks is currently 13-inch and larger. Companies in the MacBook Pro display supply chain we talked to are not aware of it. Oh, and breaking news, we just got a new report from Ming-Chi Kuo also claiming that a new MacBook, a 15-inch MacBook, is coming in the first half of 2023. He said that it will feature the M2 and the M2 Pro chip, which is quite interesting. And he wasn't actually referring to this as a MacBook Air. Instead, he only referred to it as a MacBook. And he specifically said that he hasn't heard anything about the 12-inch model. So it could be that this new 15-inch MacBook would be the 15-inch Air that we've seen reported before, and that this would be a more superior version of the MacBook Air that we have now with an M2 Pro option as well. So what do I think? Well, if we look at Apple's past product lineup, there are a few products that they discontinued and then they brought back. So, for example, Apple's Thunderbolt display was dropped in 2016, and then in 2019 they brought it back with the Pro Display XDR. And even the MacBook brand, by the way, it got discontinued in 2011, so the white MacBook got dropped, but then they brought it back in 2015, and they dropped it again in 2019. more about the 12-inch MacBook after this. So we recently wanted to update all of our music to something new, and EpidemicSound was the perfect place to find it. So we partnered with them for an exclusive offer so that you can do the same. There are several reasons why EpidemicSound was our clear choice. Their library is amazing. Need something specifically for podcasting? There's a library of music for that. On top of that, you can use all of this music without fear of copyright claims. Even if you cancel your membership, your previously used content is all safe. And if you're struggling to find a perfectly fitting track, EpidemicSound has a Find Similar button that should solve this. If something is very close but not quite there, this feature will present you with a variety of choices that should fit your specific need. We are working with Epidemic to offer you an exclusive 50% off their personal annual plan using the code ZONE50, resulting in an amazing $54 a year for this gigantic library. You'll also still get a 30-day free trial, so you can be sure that it is the right service for you. And now, back to the video. And the same applies to other products. The iMac, for example, the 27-inch was discontinued. And based on the recent leaks and rumors, it will be coming back at some point in the near future. So I think it does make sense in that way for Apple to also bring back the 12-inch MacBook and offer users something even smaller and something even more portable than what the Air can offer now. And of course that it will also fix a lot of the issues of the original design. This one, for example, had a terrible performance. We know that the M2 chip would automatically fix that. And we know that this one also had a terrible keyboard, which will again be fixed with the new Magic Keyboard. So it will be an improved design. And I do hope that it will also come in multiple colors. I know that these were the rumors for the new MacBook Air, which never ended up happening. But especially if Apple targets this as not just the entry-level MacBook, but also something targeted towards schools and children, then I think that would be awesome to include. But let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about a potential 12-inch MacBook coming back? But okay, we know that this 12-inch MacBook won't be coming until 2023 or even 2024, like Mark Gurman said. So is there anything to get excited for in the Mac world for this year? Well, there is a new Mac Pro coming with the M1 Extreme, the two M1 Ultra chips. And then there's the M2 Mac Mini, and of course there's also some new MacBook Pros coming, a new 14-inch and a new 16-inch. In terms of the Mac Pro, I think the user base is gonna be very, very small. The Mac Studio is niche as it is, and the Mac Pro is going to be even more expensive and even more specific, so I don't think a lot of people will actually be buying this. But a new design is expected, of course, significantly more performance than the current model, and I'm really curious to see about the upgradability aspect. Like, is it going to be upgradable, or is it going to be more similar to the Mac Studio, but just more powerful? Now, in terms of the M2 Mac Mini, this is expected to come with the M2 and the M2 Pro chips. So two different models, and it's expected to come in October or even November, as that is when the next Apple Mac event is likely to happen. That is also when we'll get the new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro updates with the M2 Pro and the M2 Max chips. The M2 Max is expected to come with 2 extra CPU cores for a total of 12, and then 6 extra GPU cores for a total of 38. And it could be based on a smaller 3nm process. Personally, I'm just hoping for an improved battery life on the M2 Max 14-inch model, because with mine, I guess it's okay, but going from 10 hours, which is what I was getting on the M1 13-inch, to about 5 on the M1 Max 14-inch, that's a big downgrade. But let me know, what do you guys think? Do you think the 12-inch MacBook has any place in Apple's lineup or not? And definitely subscribe to both the main channel for more updates on the Mac lineup, and also to our brand new Shorts channel for quick and fun short tech videos. I'm Daniel, ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH signing out. Cheers.